The allegations Meghan has made are simply not true. Her account does not reflect what actually happened, and it has led the public to a deeply misleading impression. That version of events has no basis in...
The orchestra had already begun playing when Meghan moved toward the most symbolically charged seat in the room. It was not an empty chair placed by accident. It had been reserved for Catherine, marked on the palace seating plan, and positioned beside Prince William. Then, before Meghan could sit, William stepped forward, placed one hand against the chair, and delivered a quiet command that silenced everyone close enough to hear it. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. The palace gala carried more weight than an ordinary dinner. Senior family members had gathered beside foreign dignitaries, charity leaders, and chosen guests. A palace seating plan was the approved arrangement showing where every attendee must sit, and each position expressed rank, responsibility, and proximity to power. Nothing around that table had been left to chance. Catherine had not abandoned her place. She was delayed in an adjoining reception room, welcoming a visiting royal delegation before joining the gathering. Her name card remained beside William, and the chart identified the chair as belonging to the Princess of Wales, the title held by the heir's wife. Meghan reached for it anyway. She pulled the chair back slightly before William stopped it with a firm hand. The prince kept his voice low, but the words cut through the conversation. The place was reserved for his wife, he told her, and it could not be taken. Meghan froze. One hand remained against the chair, as confidence gave way to shock, then humiliation. William had not redirected her. He had corrected her before the royal household. Anger tightened inside him, though his expression barely changed. Catherine was minutes away, fulfilling a duty for the monarchy, and he saw the attempted move as more than impatience. To him, Meghan had chosen his wife's absence as the perfect moment to challenge what her place represented. A palace aide leaned toward a courtier and confirmed the detail that made the moment darker. Meghan's assigned seat stood several places away, and staff had shown her the arrangement before she entered. Confusion could no longer explain what had happened. Charles watched from across the room. The king neither approached nor spoke, and that silence unsettled everyone who noticed it. Had William acted alone, or had the monarch expected this test? Meghan stepped back. Harry moved toward his brother, his face hard and his voice quiet. Catherine's chair remained between them, no longer furniture but a boundary. But the chair itself was only the surface of the conflict, because everyone standing around it carried a deeper grievance into that ballroom. To the guests, it may have appeared to be a dispute over protocol. To the four people trapped inside it, the moment carried years of betrayal, resentment, protection, and unfinished family pain. William saw his wife's dignity under threat. Meghan saw another door being closed against her. Harry saw his brother exercising power without apology. And Catherine, still unaware of the confrontation, was walking toward a room already transformed by her absence. William did not move his hand from the chair. As heir to the throne, the person next in line to become monarch, he understood that every public gesture carried meaning. Yet this was not only about rank. He had watched Catherine endure relentless attention, private pressure, and endless comparisons with Meghan. Each comparison had chipped away at the peace surrounding his wife, and the prince had reached a point where silence felt less like patience and more like surrender. Meghan felt the opposite. Returning to the palace forced her back into a hierarchy she believed had judged her before hearing her. She saw the central table as a place where power was displayed, not merely where dinner was served. Sitting beside William, even briefly, would have placed her close to the heart of that power again. When he stopped her, she did not feel corrected. She felt rejected. Harry saw the change in her face immediately. The shock came first, then the humiliation. Old anger returned with it. He remembered every moment when Meghan had felt isolated, every conversation in which she believed palace rules had been used against her, and every time he had promised she would never face that treatment alone again. He stepped closer to his brother. William refused to retreat. His voice stayed calm, but his hand remained fixed on Catherine's chair. That single gesture made his loyalty unmistakable. It also turned a private wound into a public boundary. Camilla sensed the danger before anyone spoke again. She leaned toward an aide and quietly asked whether Catherine was expected through the same entrance. The Queen Consort, the title used for the monarch's wife, knew that one badly timed arrival could turn tension into open conflict. The aide nodded. Catherine was only moments away. Sophie noticed something else. Meghan had not paused to read the place card. The trusted confidant remembered seeing her glance toward the chair earlier during the reception, long before the orchestra began. That memory changed the meaning of the entire scene. Meghan had known whose place it was. Then Catherine entered. She stopped the instant she saw William beside the displaced chair, Harry standing rigid across from him, and Meghan several steps away with tears gathering in her eyes. Catherine tightened her grip on her evening bag as understanding reached her before anyone could explain. William turned toward her and spoke quietly. "Your place was being kept." The words carried more weight than comfort. They sounded like a warning, a promise, and the final line of a conflict that had begun long before that evening. To understand why William reacted so quickly, the story must return to the private ceremony that convinced him Meghan intended to test Catherine's position. 3 weeks before the gala, a smaller ceremony had taken place behind palace doors. There were no cameras, no cheering crowds, and no public announcement. Yet one exchange during that reception changed how William viewed every future encounter with Meghan. It was the moment he stopped seeing awkward protocol mistakes as accidental and began preparing for a deliberate challenge to Catherine's authority. Clarence House had hosted the private planning reception for senior royals and gala organizers. The residence, used by members of the royal family for official work and private meetings, had become the setting for decisions that would shape the entire evening. Entrances, speaking order, guest placement, and the final seating plan all had to be agreed before the palace doors opened. Catherine's place beside William carried a clear purpose. She was scheduled to receive the principal foreign guest alongside her husband, which meant her position represented duty as much as rank. Meghan had been assigned another place near Harry and several foundation representatives, giving her a visible role without changing the formal order. Meghan did not accept that arrangement quietly. She approached the palace events director inside the library and asked whether Catherine's chair could be moved. She argued that the princess might not attend the entire evening, and that leaving the central place empty would create an awkward impression. Then she suggested that she could sit beside William instead. The director hesitated. William entered before the answer came. He heard Meghan insist that appearances can be adjusted, and watched the official close the seating folder, the document containing every approved placement for the gala. His expression hardened at once. Meghan realized he had heard enough. She told him calmly that she was trying to prevent an empty gap at the main table, not replace Catherine. William answered without raising his voice. His wife's absence, even for a few minutes, would never make her position available to someone else. Meghan left the library wounded and angry. She believed he had turned a practical suggestion into an accusation. William believed she had tested a boundary that should never have required defending. The events director waited until the door closed before speaking again. Through a documented planning note, he showed William that the request had not begun in the library. A message had arrived earlier, asking whether Catherine's place could be reassigned if she entered late. That detail changed everything. William ordered the arrangement to remain untouched and instructed the aide to alert him if anyone attempted to alter it. Then, alone beside the planning table, he lifted Catherine's place card, studied her name in silence, and returned it with deliberate care. Concern had become a promise. What William did not know was that Harry later learned about the confrontation. He did not see protection. He saw humiliation being prepared in advance. That buried resentment now returns to the ballroom, where Harry steps between his wife and the brother who refuses to move. The ballroom did not erupt with shouting. The confrontation was more dangerous than that. Harry moved closer. William lowered his voice, and the guests surrounding them pretended not to watch. Between the brothers stood Catherine's chair half pulled from the table, its place card tilted, its meaning suddenly unmistakable. What followed was not an argument over where Meghan should sit. It was a battle over who still possessed the right to challenge the future king. Harry demanded to know why his brother had not handled the matter privately. He believed William had chosen the most humiliating moment possible to remind Meghan that she no longer stood inside the senior royal circle, the small group of family members who carry the monarchy's main public duties. To him, the hand on the chair was not protection. It was punishment. William refused to accept that charge. The arrangement had been explained before the gala, he said, and Catherine's place had never been available. The prince would not call it a misunderstanding because he remembered the earlier planning reception, the request made in the library, and the message asking whether his wife's chair could be reassigned. Meghan stepped forward before Harry could answer. She told William she had never intended to replace Catherine. She had only believed the central place should not remain empty during the opening course. Then her voice sharpened. He assumed the worst, she said, because he had already decided she did not belong in the room. Catherine moved beside her husband. She did not raise her voice, and that restraint made the moment more painful. She asked Meghan why she had chosen that chair when her own name was displayed elsewhere. Meghan faced her directly. No aide stepped between them. She repeated that she thought the place would remain unused until Catherine arrived. "Empty does not mean unclaimed," Catherine replied. William said nothing. He watched his wife hold Meghan's gaze, while sadness replaced the shock on her face. Catherine understood now that the chair had not been selected by chance. Harry broke the silence. He admitted that he knew Meghan had asked about changing the arrangement weeks earlier. Through a private conversation between them after the Clarence House reception, he had encouraged her to challenge it. He believed the seating plan had been designed to diminish both of them, and he wanted the palace to see they would no longer accept every decision quietly. William's expression changed. Harry's admission transformed the incident from an impulsive mistake into a coordinated challenge. The future king told his brother that using Catherine's delayed arrival to force a symbolic change was unacceptable. Then Charles approached. The king did not rebuke William. Instead, he turned to the chief equerry, the senior household officer responsible for coordinating official royal arrangements, and asked for the approved seating folder. The next decision would not be made by the loudest voice in the ballroom, but by the person whose approval had shaped the entire arrangement. For several agonizing minutes, King Charles had watched without speaking. His stillness appeared hesitant, almost detached. But when the seating folder was placed into his hands, the atmosphere changed. He opened it to a page bearing his own approval, and looked first at Catherine, then at Meghan, and finally at William. The monarch's silence had never meant uncertainty. He had been waiting to discover who would respect the order and who would attempt to rewrite it. Charles had approved the senior seating plan because the gala included foreign representatives, charity leaders, and constitutional figures whose positions carried public meaning. A constitutional figure was someone tied to the formal structure of the state, not simply a social guest. Any change at the central table would therefore signal more than preference. It would suggest a shift in rank, influence, and royal authority. William understood that burden. As Prince of Wales, the title held by the heir to the throne, he did not command the entire event. Yet he had both the right and the duty to protect Catherine's precedence whenever they appeared as the future king and queen. The chair beside him represented that shared role, and he had acted exactly as the approved order required. Charles saw the cost of that action. Harry's anger was growing. Meghan stood wounded and exposed. William remained rigid beside his wife, while Catherine carried the sadness of someone forced to defend a place she had never tried to seize from anyone else. The king felt trapped between his sons, but sympathy could not erase the facts in his hands. Catherine stepped closer and quietly asked whether she should sit elsewhere to calm the room. Charles looked at her with visible sadness. Then he told her no. She should not surrender a position, simply because defending it had become uncomfortable. The king lowered the open folder onto the table. With 2 fingers, he turned Catherine's tilted place card upright. The gesture was small, but everyone understood it. Charles then spoke with final authority. The seat had been reserved by royal instruction, meaning it had been assigned through the monarch's direct approval, and it could not be reassigned without permission. His words confirmed that William had not acted from jealousy. He had enforced an order already settled by the crown. Camilla received another troubling detail from an aide moments later. Through a documented message logged before the gala, someone had asked for Catherine's place card to be removed until she arrived. Staff had refused. The request proved the chair had been targeted more than once. Charles ordered dinner to continue. Harry did not move. He remained beside Meghan, refusing to return to his assigned place, and the look between them made his next decision clear. The king had settled the question of the chair, but he had not contained the emotional damage spreading through the family. The music resumed, glasses were lifted, and the first course was served. Outwardly, the palace gala continued exactly as planned, yet nothing inside the room felt normal. Meghan sat at her assigned place without touching her food. Harry remained rigid beside her. Catherine spoke politely to the guests around her while fighting tears. And William, seated between royal duty and private fury, understood that preserving one chair had cost the family any remaining illusion of unity. Palace staff guided the guests back to their places with quiet efficiency. The official program, meaning the fixed order of speeches, courses, and ceremonial moments, continued because Charles refused to let a family dispute derail an international royal engagement. Foreign representatives were still present, and any visible collapse would damage more than one evening. It would expose division at the heart of the monarchy. Catherine took the reserved chair beside William. Her decision restored the approved arrangement, but it also deepened the humiliation across the table. Meghan lowered her eyes toward the untouched place setting in front of her. Every whisper sounded personal. Every glance felt like judgment. Harry noticed the tension in her hands and remained close, his anger hardening each time she looked away. Catherine leaned toward her husband and asked whether physically blocking the chair had truly been necessary. William did not soften his answer. If Meghan had been allowed to sit there, even briefly, the prince believed a planned challenge would have become an accepted fact. The position would have been occupied, witnessed, and remembered before anyone could reverse it. The first toast began. Harry lifted his glass, then placed it down with a sharp movement that drew several nearby eyes. He leaned toward Meghan and told her they would leave as soon as the speech ended. She nodded at first. Then she looked across the table toward Catherine, carrying resentment, embarrassment, and wounded pride in equal measure. Sophie approached Catherine during the pause between courses. The trusted confidant explained through a private conversation that palace staff had been warned not to move her name card under any circumstances. Catherine immediately understood the truth. William had been protecting her place for weeks, yet he had never told her the threat existed. A senior aide then spoke quietly to Charles. Several guests had seen the confrontation clearly, and stopping the story from leaving the palace would be nearly impossible. The king absorbed the warning without reply, but the damage had already begun. Harry and Meghan left before dessert through a side corridor. William watched his brother go and did not follow. Charles closed his eyes as the doors shut behind his younger son. Later that night, Catherine asked William to meet her alone in a private drawing room. Away from the audience, the ceremony, and the disputed chair, husband and wife would confront the private cost of William's decision. By morning, a single photograph had transformed a private royal confrontation into a global spectacle. It showed William standing behind Catherine's half-pulled chair, Meghan facing him in stunned silence, and Harry moving between them. No raised voices were visible. No explanation accompanied it. Yet the image told a story powerful enough to dominate broadcasts, newspaper covers, and crowds gathering outside the palace before breakfast. The photograph had spread after a gala attendee shared a brief written account and a tightly framed image from the exact moment before Catherine entered the ballroom. Palace communications staff, the team responsible for managing official royal messages, faced immediate pressure to explain what the public was seeing. Had William blocked Meghan because of a private feud, or because she had tried to take a place formerly reserved for someone else? Harry saw the image on his phone before breakfast ended. His anger came instantly. Meghan's shocked expression had been frozen, repeated, and debated without the library conversation, the earlier request, or the warning that had shaped the confrontation. To him, her humiliation had become entertainment, and the world was judging a single second while ignoring everything that came before it. Catherine watched the coverage beside William. She felt no victory. Commentators praised her as the woman whose position had been defended, but she knew the evening had left Meghan wounded, Harry furious, Charles exhausted, and her husband carrying the full weight of his decision. William listened beside her, understanding that public support could not repair private damage. Then the front pages appeared. A major London newspaper printed the photograph beneath the headline, "Not Your Place." Copies rose above a crowd gathered near the gates of Buckingham Palace, where supporters argued over whether William had protected protocol or pushed the family further apart. Buckingham Palace was the monarch's main official residence, and the gathering outside its gates turned a private wound into a public test of the monarchy itself. A morning broadcaster made the symbolism even sharper. An empty gold chair stood in the studio, as the presenter called it, the seat that exposed the true balance of power inside the modern monarchy. In that instant, the chair became more famous than the gala. The palace finally responded. Its written statement confirmed that every senior seat had been approved in advance, and that the Prince of Wales had acted to preserve the authorized arrangement. Meghan was not named, but the meaning was clear. Catherine's position had not vanished because she entered late. Her place remained hers, even when the chair stood empty. Charles then summoned William, Catherine, Harry, and Meghan for one final private meeting. The world had already delivered its judgment, but the final verdict still had to be spoken inside the family itself. The final meeting was not held in a ballroom. There were no photographers, uniforms, musicians, or carefully arranged tables. Only Charles, his two sons, Catherine and Meghan, entered the private room. At its center stood 5 ordinary chairs, none marked by rank. Yet everything said that morning returned to the one chair that had divided them, the place Meghan tried to occupy. William refused to surrender, and Catherine never asked anyone to defend. Charles began without ceremony. The king separated the family's pain from the official decision and confirmed that Catherine's gala position had been approved. Meghan had received another assigned place, and William had been entitled to stop an unauthorized change. The seating chart was the formal document showing where each guest must sit, and the monarch made clear that it would not be debated again. The purpose of the meeting was harder. Charles wanted to know whether his family could accept boundaries without treating every rule as rejection. He looked toward Harry, then toward Meghan, and waited. Meghan admitted she had known the chair belonged to Catherine. She believed occupying it temporarily would expose what she saw as an unnecessarily rigid hierarchy, the system that determines royal rank and ceremonial order. Yet she also accepted that her decision had appeared deliberate and provocative. Harry defended her. He said the arrangement had felt like another reminder that they remained outside the center of royal life. William answered that protecting his wife's place had never been a rejection of his brother. It had been a refusal to let Catherine's absence become an opportunity to weaken her position. Catherine then addressed Meghan directly. She did not ask for an apology for touching the chair. She asked for recognition that another woman's absence was not permission to claim her identity, responsibilities, or place. Meghan lowered her voice. Through that private conversation, she apologized for turning Catherine's reserved seat into a public test. Catherine accepted the apology, but she did not pretend trust had been fully restored. Charles delivered the final decision. Future invitations would carry fixed seating instructions, and no guest could challenge them during an event. Harry and Meghan would remain welcome only if they accepted the same boundaries required of everyone else. William did not apologize for blocking the chair. He admitted, however, that years of anger had sharpened his response. Harry finally accepted that the intervention had not been invented to humiliate Meghan. It had followed a choice she knowingly made. The chair had represented more than rank. It represented Catherine's earned place beside William, and the monarchy's refusal to confuse reconciliation with surrender. Meghan left without the position she had challenged, but with a clear understanding of why it could never be taken. Catherine left without triumph, yet with certainty. Her role did not disappear when she left the room. The gala would be remembered not because Meghan was prevented from sitting down, but because the monarchy finally declared that Catherine's place within her marriage, within the family, and beside the future king, was no longer open to negotiation. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.